Did you know that methane from cattle accounts for 10% of Australia's greenhouse gases? Aquaculture provides the first commercially viable solution by mass farming a seaweed that reduces methane in cattle by up to 99%. My name is Brandon, co-founder and CEO of Aquaculture. Welcome to everyone listening in today. Dairy farmers and brands operate in an extremely competitive market. To compete, they're actively searching for ways to further differentiate their dairy products. Further, they're wanting to improve their environmental sustainability to meet evolving consumer demands. By incorporating Sway Aquaculture's methane-reducing seaweed into their cows' diets, dairy farmers can meaningfully market their products as methane-reduced, future-proofing their operations and giving them a powerful competitive edge. We're undergoing conversations with industry players and are receiving strong interest from dairies. One dairy farmer went so far as to proclaim that 5 years from now, brands that don't address methane will be the caged eggs of dairy. Having spoken with 200 Canberran strangers, we've found a strong buying correlation between free-range eggs and methane-reduced milk. Of cow dairy consumers, the vast majority of interviewed Canberrans would be very happy to pay a 20% premium for such milk on top of the current price of premium brands. Once consumers know that cattle methane is 10% of our greenhouse gases, people become extremely receptive to the idea. We have a small handful of competitors around the world, all of whom are also in pilot stage. With 1.5 billion cows globally and action on climate change being needed immediately, it's important that multiple companies succeed. We've chosen to grow in the Philippines, an ideal location with hundreds of years of seaweed history, countless experienced farmers, scientists, and technicians, a full ancillary industry to support operations, and low operating costs. As a new company, we're able to utilize these advantages to create affordable mass-scale operations, rather than attempting to create an entirely new industry here in Australia. Having built long-term relationships with key individuals in the Philippines, we now arguably have the largest production capacity at the lowest cost. Strong long-term relationships built over time are key. Recently, the team has expanded to include world-class experts with more to come. United by an ambitious vision with skills and networks across business, engineering, and science, the team works tirelessly to bring this venture to success. We're currently preparing Sway Aquaculture for our first investment rounds later this year. So to all who are listening, reach out to us if you're interested in exploring that option together. We'll be introducing advanced and innovative farming practices to the Philippines. With our own corporate-run farms, the mass-scale farming system commonly used in China and South Korea will be implemented and improved upon. Not only will the surface design be optimized, but we'll be implementing an innovative multi-trophic system where shellfish are farmed concurrently below the seaweed. The design not only improves the financial sustainability by increasing and diversifying revenue, but also improves environmental sustainability by significantly improving water quality and biodiversity. Our pathway to market is clear. With our current land in the Palawan region of the Philippines, we'll very soon be establishing a small pilot farm. Upon the first harvest, we can sell to a small boutique dairy farm, then measure our results. This will give a good idea of what to improve for the next harvest. It's then a matter of commercialization. We're currently working with several players to design and construct a hatchery to selectively breed a high quantity of spores, giving us a better quality seaweed, which we can sell at a higher price point than before. Then, we can deploy them into a larger farm using investment funds and revenue we generate from our first seaweed harvest and shellfish. To build long-term defensibility, we'll be employing Philippine researchers from universities and elsewhere to undertake in-house R&D, primarily with the methane-reducing seaweed, but also on other seaweeds and marine animals. We're looking to raise $15,000 from IACT. This will put us on the quickest path to success, fully paying for a 1-hectare farm, including assets and labor. It'll not only pay for the seaweed, but also the specialized cages for the shellfish. 1 hectare provides us ample space for testing several different farm designs and will also give us a high enough yield of seaweed to sell to a small farm. We'll still succeed with less than $15,000, but we hope to say to investors that the farm itself is fully paid for, only needing to raise money for the other things that will accelerate growth. Thank you for listening, and reach out to us if you would like to explore options.
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Thanks, Brandon. Well done. Can I just ask a question? How much of the seaweed is needed for a small dairy farm?
So it's so pretty much you need about 400 grams at most of dried seaweed per cow, potentially per day. So if you times that by 365, it provides a number which I forgot right this second, but that's for 1 cow per year. And so with that 1 hectare farm, we can feed about potentially 60 cows for a year.
60 cows for a year, 1 hectare farm. Okay. And what is the cost if I buy it as a farmer? What is the price point?
Sure. We're currently undergoing negotiations, and I'd like to keep that confidential.
Okay. So how does it compare to the feed that makes methane now? What's the difference?
Sure. So this is only a small added thing into their current diets. They will still continue to eat 20 kilograms of dry matter a day, 15 kilograms being grass and the other 5 being grains. So the grains will provide them all the nutrients that they need for extra milk production, but this 400 grams or so of seaweed will eliminate that methane. It's just an added thing into their diet.
Okay, so it's an additional cost to the farmer.
Yeah, however, we are looking at working with feed producers to incorporate this seaweed into existing feed solutions with grains to reduce that cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Hi, Brandon. So does the seaweed need particular conditions to grow in, or can it be grown anywhere? And how does that impact on the scaling of the business?
Sure. So this seaweed, Asparagopsis taxiformis, grows globally in tropical and subtropical regions. So the Philippines, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, even Northern Australia, it grows. It needs relatively calm waters, which the Philippines has quite a lot of. It's also it needs quite normal conditions for typical red seaweeds. And so with scaling, because the Philippines has quite a few protected areas, scaling isn't much of a problem because we'll be working directly with the Philippine government to get really good locations.
So how does a farmer in Australia, for example, get access to it? It's just a powdered product or a pellet product that gets added to other feed, or how does it actually get used elsewhere?
Yeah, so in its most basic form, it'll come as a powder. And so when we're working with feed producers, that powder is mixed into the other powders of grain. And so it's all extremely easy to incorporate. It can also come in pellet form if they are willing to pay for that kind of quality.
Any biosecurity compliance issues that you have detected?
So with importation, we need to make sure that these spores are non-viable. We can do that by granulating the seaweed. We also need to make sure that there's no pests or coronavirus on the seaweed. So just cleaning it as well beforehand. But we'll be working with biosecurity officials to make sure that we are following everything we need specifically for this new kind of seaweed.
I don't have any questions.
Have you tested it yourself, or this is research based?
The research has been done by the CSIRO and other researchers around the world. We will be undertaking our own research with a renowned Philippine government research center, which we're currently writing an MOU with, that will allow us to do physiology research, so how to better understand the seaweed as well as how we can better grow it in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll also be, sorry, and to add on, we'll also be bringing on a chief scientist soon who has experience with Asparagopsis.
Can I ask another question? I mean, I've done a little bit of work with the Cattle Association here in Australia, and they're not the most lateral thinking when it comes to changing the way their standard processes. So how do you convince the farming industry to actually change the way they do things?
Well, we're not really looking for them to change anything really, because the solution that we provide, we'll be working with a dairy brand partner to incorporate it seamlessly into their current system.
So if I buy the milk of the farm, I'm buying it at a price point already as as the dairy factory. I'm buying it at a price point already methane free, 20% more. price?
Yeah, so if the seaweed is as effective as we need it to be, 99% reduction, then yeah, for 20% more potentially you can get it for that methane reduction, that methane free.
And you have tested the supply chain, because I know you tested the consumer market, but there's other players in the supply chain.
Sorry, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much, Brandon, for